And welcome back for another episode of a Runnin Thought podcast, coming to you from somewhere on a volcano in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. Thanks for joining me. It's been another exciting week on the island of Hawaii. I'll go ahead and get started. As promised in the previous episode, I'll announce some events that are coming up in the world of running. This is pulled straight off of Ultra Sign Up. If you would like to see this in text form, you can go to ultrasignup.com and then do an event search for your particular zip code. If you're on Big Island, you can search for stuff on Big Island. That's all I'm going to read off is stuff from Big Island. No offense to all of the other islands, but that's where I live. And so if I read off things from everywhere, I'd be here all night. But with that, I'll go ahead and get started. So some of these may be repeat from last time, but Saturday, November 28th, 2020, the Bacoa Combo Platter, 100K, 50K, and 16 miler. And that looks like it's in Ninole. Go Big, 260 miler and 100 miler, and also 50K. And the date that's listed is Saturday, December 26, 2020. But I do believe that the 260 miler starts on a different day. I could be wrong, but the city that's listed there is Hilo. Check ultrasignup.com for more details and to see where those races actually start. New Year's Cheers is a 6-hour event, also 5K and 3-hour. That is going to be on Saturday, January 23rd, 2021, and that's in Volcano. Bacoa Spring Fling, Saturday, February 20th, 2021. That's a 50K and a 100 miler. Ninole is the location for that as well. And then we have Under the Moon, which is a 200K, 100K, 50K, Saturday, June 26, 2021. And that's going to be in Hilo, Hawaii. Expanded my search a little bit. Last time I briefly mentioned, because I got a notification on my my Garmin as I was ending the podcast. Hawaii Running Lab is putting on a virtual event, 5K, 10K, and a 26.2, so a full marathon. This is a virtual event, but the Mele Kalikimaka virtual 5K, 10K, 26.2. You can go to hawaiirunninglab.com /mele-kalikimaka for more details on that. Again, that's hawaiirunninglab.com, and just search around. It's under events. Every runner receives a free item from the HRL shop. So there's a ugly sweater singlet that's up for grabs, and technical long sleeve top, and brand new singlets. So yeah, go there for more details. hawaiirunninglab.com. And I also decided to just for giggles expand my search a little bit. So I also looked on running in the USA.com, which is a site that I have never heard of or looked at before. But according to this site, December 6, 2020, which is a Sunday, Jingle Bell Run 5K, Hilo, Hawaii. December 20th, 2020, Jingle Bell Beach Run is another 5K that's going to be in Kona, Kailua Kona. The Hilo to Volcano Ultra and Relay. So there's a 50K run and then a 50K team relay event. I guess it would have to be a team in order to be a relay. But anyways, that has been canceled. they're doing it virtually. It looks like you can still do it virtually. Check runningintheusa.com and do a specific search for Hawaii County, and you can see all of the details, the minutia for that particular event. But it looks like the on-site race is canceled, and it's virtual for 2020-2021. That is or would have been in Hilo. That's where that starts. I've run that race several times. I wouldn't call it a race when I'm doing it, but anyways, or I wouldn't call what I'm doing a race. We'll put it like that. March 14th, 2021, which is a Sunday, the Big Island International Marathon. I have no idea if this is actually still going, but according to the site, it is. So that is, of course, a marathon, 26.2 miles, plus a half marathon, 13.1 miles, a 10K, a 5K, and a 2-mile run. My son loves to do that event. I think he's probably done the 2-mile and probably the 5K in the past. June 5th, 2021. This really doesn't fall into my field of vision, but the Ironman 70.3 says Hawaii. I have no idea if that's actually still on or if this site is incorrect. So you can look for yourself, runningintheusa.com, and I'll read one more from June, and then anything after that, I think we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. But Kona Marathon, June 27th, 2021. It's a 26.2 mile full marathon, 13.1 mile half marathon, 10K, 5K run. Okay, that's going to start and finish in Kona. Imagine that. Yeah, and there's more, but you can go look for yourself. And so that fulfills my promise to all of you to read out some events round the way. What else? I've been having some great conversations with someone. I'm not going to go into great detail who this person is, but they are more than an acquaintance. Not quite a close friend, but somebody that I spent a lot of time with in my life, and really enjoyed back and forth about sports related things, biking and running mostly. But anyways, I've been having conversations with this person, and not putting them down, but they are, I believe, at least 10 years my senior, I think. And so both of us are going through the varying stages. I'm going to be 40 later this month. We're going through the varying stages of the breakdown of our physical bodies, and all of the trappings and the joys of that experience. I've been talking to this person pretty frequently in the past 2 weeks, and they're bringing up interesting things that I never thought of, and I thought it would be good to include some things on the podcast. And one of the more interesting things is that this person managed to get a hold of some Vibram, what are they called? The toe shoes. 5 fingers. Vibram 5 fingers. I don't know the specific model that they were able to get a hold of, but they got a hold of them, and they've been trying them out. And this person is just kind of like getting back into running. They used to do a lot of biking, like some, I guess you would say, some serious biking. And the person is, or the guy, I'll say the guy is, I don't think that's giving away too much detail, but the guy used to bike quite a bit, and even did some competitive biking, some pretty hilly some serious biking. But anyways, his legs are made for biking because he built them for that, and he's trying to get into running. Not like trying to get into running, but he wants to do a little running to kind of augment his athletics, we'll say. And so he had a lot of questions for me. Thankfully, all my guesses to the answers to his questions seem to have worked enough for him to continue having faith in anything that I say. So I'm glad that it worked out that way. But yeah, so he got the 5 fingers. I did not tell him to get the 5 fingers. At this point, I don't recommend shoes for people, or I don't recommend a particular brand. I do like Ultras. I know I'm being a hypocrite right now. That's what I wear. I'm not saying that you need to go out and buy a pair of Ultras. They may not be the right shoe for you. I think it just all depends on what feels best for you and what you want to do, I guess. I don't profess to be like a all-knowing expert, everything running. I just know what works for me, and so I try to relay that advice. And under the pretext that it results may vary. It worked okay for me, may not work for everybody. But at any rate, I was talking to him about how it may actually be better to run barefoot in some instances, because if I think about, I wear Ultra so I can get toe splay, and I like minimalist cushioning because I can feel the ground, and I do appreciate Vibram soles because they seem to grip wet, slippery surfaces really well. And so the 5 fingers seem to have all the attributes of the perfect piece of footwear for me, based on that description. So, sorry, I get those stupid notifications all the time from like all around the web, like, today's weather, and this happened on Reddit, and so irritating. But because I can't look away, and I think that's the entire point of them, but I get distracted. Anyways, the 5 fingers. So he got them, and when he got them, I was halfway like, I don't know. I don't know. I hope that these don't cause any kind of injury, but then like internally, I reserved judgment because I'd never had them before, and I'm thinking about it, like all of the things that I've experienced and that I've sort of recommended based off of my experience have leaned more towards like a minimalist footwear, and kind of just building your muscles up, or building your body up to deal with anything you can sort of throw at it, versus cushioning it to death and overcompensating for pronation, quote unquote pronation issues. I'm not a pronation denier per se. I just don't know that you need to overcompensate in most cases with special footwear. I think that it is a marketing gimmick. Maybe not in all cases, but in a lot of cases. It's just a marketing gimmick that they're trying to sell you. Anyways, so he's tried them out, and I noticed today that he did not have delayed onset muscle soreness for the first time since he's been running, and he's been indicating that his he's feels like he's able to like the ground feel is enhanced, and his legs, I don't know, I don't remember if he said he feels like his legs are getting stronger, but he did say his legs were very sore, like for a couple of days after he started wearing the five fingers. So I can only imagine that that was the muscles working where they did not have to before because of whatever footwear he had on, kind of supporting those muscle groups and allowing them to be lazy. But that's all conjecture, totally based on zero science, just a little bit of something that I heard. So I'll be interested to see how these work out for him. And I gotta say, I'm almost a little, I almost a little bit feel like I should order a pair for myself. There was a lawsuit, I believe, a class action lawsuit several years ago. The company that makes those shoes was sued for, I guess, like overstating some of the benefits of wearing them, and then actually I guess some people got hurt somehow. I don't know all of the details. It may have been very legitimized, excuse me. But I think maybe what it could have also been is just people didn't give those shoes time. They didn't build up to being able to wear them, because just like you wouldn't start off your first time running, you wouldn't run up the biggest hill you can find as fast as you can necessarily. Some people would, but most people wouldn't. You would probably be more apt to start off slow and then gradually build, and then conquer some small hills and then conquer some bigger hills, sort of like flow in that manner. But what people do sometimes in a lot of things is they get cranking on an idea, and they think, if I just believe that I can or if I push myself extra hard, it can do nothing but benefit me, which is not really always the case, or almost nearly is never the case. Yeah. If you go too strong, too fast, you're definitely going to get injured. And so that probably happened to a lot of people with the five fingers, because with the shoe that has no cushioning, and your foot is making contact with the ground way differently than it would inside of a comfortable cushioned shoe, there's going to be an adjustment period that you're going to have to overcome. I don't know how long that is. It could be days, it could be weeks, months, I don't know. But there's going to be an adjustment period. And so I think some people probably hit it way too hard, way too fast in those things, and then ended up getting injured. And so anyways, they became sort of defunct. And I think also the just them as a product, they look like a foot, which you wouldn't think would be that crazy because they're going on your foot. But when, I guess, public perception generally, when they see them, is that is very faddish, and fads tend to come and go, and so I think they just waned out of popularity for those two reasons. But that doesn't delegitimize them as a tool or a thing that you can put on your foot and use. Like, it doesn't really detract from their utility at all. My only gripe thinking of them, I have maybe three. So the first one is, if you ever kicked a rock in a shoe that's got some kind of protective toe shielding on it, you know how much that hurts, and you never want to ever do it again. And you can probably remember getting a little bit damp around the eyes, and maybe even a little teardrop rolling down your cheek. It really hurts when you kick a rock or a root full stride. And yeah, it's like stubbing your toe times over 9,000, right? It really hurts. I can't imagine what it would be like stubbing your toe or kicking a rock full force, full stride in one of these 5 fingers shoes. There's a cat outside right now that's making noise, and it's really distracting me. I don't know why it's coming to my house. I wish it would go back to its house. I think it belongs to the neighbor, hangs out in the neighbor's yard, and only comes in my yard at night to make noise, but I digress. So yeah, so that was one gripe, kicking a rock really hard with 5 fingers. The second thing is there's only like one sock maker that I know of that would be able to make, or that currently manufactures a sock that would fit inside of the 5 fingers. And I believe they're called Ingenie, something like that. They're a 5-toed sock. And so if you were to wear socks, that would be probably the way that you have to go. The third gripe is, and by the way, those socks are incredibly hard to put on. They're way harder. There's a reason why most socks don't have individual toes. You can probably hear this cat behind me. I don't know what's wrong with him. But anyways, very distracting cat. It's comical how distracting this cat is. But anyways, so the third thing, since the socks are so hard to put on, what would probably end up happening is you just wouldn't wear them. I can imagine socks inside of these 5 finger shoes would also be not that comfortable either. So you'd probably go without the socks, and you know what happens when you wear shoes without socks. You know what happens. I know that you know what happens. They get really, really stinky, and I know that your feet stink. It's okay, it's natural, but you shouldn't wear shoes without socks. It just doesn't end well. That's why there are flip-flops. Those are the only type of footwear you should be wearing without socks. And some people even wear socks with those. So yeah. So those are the 3 gripes that I would possibly have with the 5 fingers. But other than that, I don't know. I think they would probably work pretty well. And to be honest, I'm kind of curious myself. And one of these days, and I don't know, I might get bored and, be on Amazon or just looking around the web, and I might end up with a pair to test out. But if I do that, I will let you all know every step of the way how that is going. And who knows, maybe there'll be a Vibram 5 fingers revival. But so far so good for the current test subject. He's enjoying his 5 fingers, and the smile on his face proved it all. So I'll leave that at that, and I will give you updates as I receive them. So if you are curious, they do sell these. They're still available. I had to actually look myself because I feared that they were no longer around or for sale, but they are, and they're a decent price too. Moving on. Earlier I mentioned the inevitable breakdown of the human body, especially once that body hits the age of 40 and gradually moves towards X. I kind of sped that process up on Monday. I guess it was Monday. Tuesday. No, today's Tuesday. No, it was Monday. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. Today's Wednesday. It was Monday. I didn't have a lot of time to go running. It was actually going to get dark soon. So I did the only thing I knew to do, which was go down to the end of HPP and go running on good old Beach Road. And so I took off around 4-ish, 5-ish. Took off around 5. And it's been getting dark here somewhere between 5:45 and 6:15, right? So I was really pressing it because I wanted to get in 6 miles. You know, that's pretty much my standard for the weekdays, or it has been for this year. Thanks, COVID. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I set out for my 6 miler at 5 something, and there was no way I was making it back in time before dark. So it was a pretty uneventful run. I think I felt pretty decent. I remember being slightly more, I guess, nervous about my vehicle than I used to be, but you know, that's pretty much the new norm for me. Everywhere I leave it, I'm afraid of possibly having to pay another $500 deductible and losing my vehicle for weeks to have bullet holes fixed. That really sucked. But anyways, so I took off for my run, uneventful, felt pretty nervous. Otherwise, great run. And I was even going a little bit faster than normal, I think, for the last couple of miles. Cut to maybe not even a quarter of a mile to my vehicle, not even 100 yards to my vehicle. It was dark, and I was carrying my sunglasses in my right hand. I believe I was carrying my sunglasses in my right hand along with a collapsible water bottle, which I'll tell you about in a minute. I don't think I told about the new water bottles last time. But anyways, water bottle and sunglasses kind of like held in my right hand, and everything's going great. I'm about to be finished, and so I trip and fall forward, and usually when this happens, I'm able to right myself. I actually have prided myself on how so many close calls have turned out to be just near misses, and I've been able to right myself, and I've thought in my mind about how strong and awesome my legs are and how I can never fall, yada yada yada. I fell so hard on Monday, tripped, and just kind of everything kept moving forward, and I bashed into the ground, my forearm on the left side, so my forearm, elbow, shoulder, and my kneecap, like right on the top of the kneecap, and my right, I guess, hip, like the outer, not my butt, but the outer, I guess, hip area, like just bashed into the ground. A little bit of my calf too, just right on lava rock, as hard as can be. And I got my bell rung for sure. I was so confused. It was dark, and so nobody saw, or no, everybody pretended like they didn't see if they did see, and nobody came over to help or anything, which is fine. The people that were out there were pretty far away. They were out of earshot. But yeah, so I got myself up, and I remember standing up and just really not feeling good on the entire left side of my body because of the scrapes. And I didn't really know that they were just scrapes at the time. I was too out of it to even really think. The only thing I could think about was my sunglasses. Holy shit. Oh, whoops. I never cussed on this podcast. Sorry, I guess it's the first time for everything. I'm not going to make a habit of it, but that's what I actually was thinking. I was like, I lost my glasses, like my sunglasses. And so I'm looking all around for my sunglasses. I can't find them. And then all of a sudden, like I got not lightheaded, but you know how you get when you stand up too quick, like you've been sitting down and you stand up too quick. Well, I got that, and it was just like amplified. I think I had like a lot of adrenaline running too. So I was just like loopy, and I was looking around for my glasses. It was totally, it wasn't pitch dark, but it was too dark to even see anything. And I had little, like stars. I was seeing stars, so I really couldn't see anything on the ground. And then finally, I got, my head got clear enough for me to realize that I was holding my sunglasses still in my hand along with my water bottle. And so then it's so stupid how I was acting like right after this. I'm worried about my sunglasses, not even trying to see if I'm like bleeding profusely from anywhere. And I wasn't even going to look until I knew that I had my sunglasses. I had found my sunglasses. So yeah, I don't know if that's one of those things, like you never know your true self until you fall and slam your body on a patch of basalt or whatever. But yeah, so finally I got over it, got back to the truck, and was good to drive home. And I remember the drive home was incredibly itchy because I had like pine needles and like rocks and stuff, like not in my back, but like sticking to my back because I had like fell and sort of rolled, I guess. But I definitely had some lava rocks stuck like in my knee and my arm and my shoulder. And so got back home after the itchiest, uncomfortable ride, and then got in the shower, and the debriding, however you want to say it, that was rough, like having to get all those little pieces of rock and stuff. I didn't want it to get infected, any of it, because that can be a major thing, especially in a tropical, subtropical climate. There's all kinds of nasty stuff that lives all over everything. I think luckily for me, this was out in a patch of rock that gets a considerable amount of sunshine, and so it's not quite the same as if it would have been like a humid triple canopy jungle, and I would have fallen and like punctured my leg or something with like a stick full of whatever it is that causes gangrene or cellulitis or whatever. So yeah, I was fortunate in that respect, but still, there's a first time for everything, and that was not a great feeling. I highly don't recommend that you do that, but I don't really know any way to avoid it. Eventually it's bound to happen, I guess. Like in my case, one of the ways, like I was saying, that I have been able to sort of have some near misses, avoid catastrophe in the past, was just, having good leg strength, and kind of having my muscles trained um, to kind of take what I'm throwing at them, I guess, and stay balanced, without me having to think about it too much. But even that, it was pretty stupid to be still running after it had already gotten dark, especially in the area that I was in. And so, kids, if you're out running in the dark, please stop, or get a headlamp to guide you. I have a headlamp, but I left it in my truck, because in my strange logic, I thought that I would somehow get back before it was dark, even though it always takes me, precisely an hour to an hour, 20 minutes to do this same run every day. And when I started off that run that particular day, I had less than an hour to get finished. But somehow I had in my mind I was not going to need that headlamp. But anyways, don't run without a headlamp. Another thing I've said on the podcast before, but it's been so long that you may have never heard it, or you may have forgotten it, is if you do run with a headlamp, somebody taught me a long time ago that it's okay to have it on your head, but you can also hold it in your hand like a flashlight sometimes, especially if you're on a super rocky surface or rooty area. Hold in your hand kind of closer to ground level as you're running, because that will pick up rocks and things that would otherwise not be noticeable if the light was on your head. Because when the light's on your head and it's shining down, you don't get the shadows off of the rocks, and so it's kind of hard to perceive, like, okay, this rock is sticking out a lot, or this rock is sticking out a little. You're kind of just guessing. Whereas if the light's in your hand and it's casting a long shadow, you kind of get an idea of like, oh, that's a big root sticking out of the ground, or that's a big rock sticking out of the ground, or whatever. Trust me. Just trust me. It works. It wasn't my idea, and that's why you can trust it. It was somebody else that was way more seasoned than me, and they passed that bit of knowledge down, and it's been helpful to me. So that was my Monday, and I was fine. I know nobody cares, but I'll tell you anyway. I got home debrided, however you want to say it, and it was all scrapes. There was nothing. My ego was bruised a little bit, but my body will be fine. I've got a lot of cool scrapes and bumps, and no bruises, just scrapes and bumps. But that's it. And so that's the big excitement for this week. I'm trying to think what else. There was something else that I wanted to mention. Oh, yeah. So another question that came to me by way of Strava, I think, or it may have been text. Someone asked me about my cadence data on Strava. Hang on one second. Sorry, I had to get some water. My throat was getting dry. But anyway, somebody asked me about cadence data on Strava, if it came from my watch or if it came from Strava, like where is it computed? I honestly didn't know. To the best of my ability, I Googled it, and the information that I found seems to indicate that particular piece of data is generated from the watch that I wear. which is a Garmin 945 XT, I believe. All of my data that's generated from my watch comes from my watch. Like, I don't wear any kind of peripherals, so I don't do like heart rate monitor or anything else. I think for the watch that I have, you can buy heart rate monitors which also have like enhanced like cadence measurements and maybe some other stuff. Like, they've got some more sensors in them than just the heart rate. I could be totally wrong on that, but I think I remember reading that. But yeah, I don't wear any of that. Everything that I get comes directly off the wrist, and so for better or for worse, that's the data I use. And the reason is I just am a very simple person. I like to wear a watch. That's fine, but that's about enough. Like, having to strap on a heart rate monitor, I have done that in the past, but only out of necessity, like wanting to get the data. But when I had a watch that would just take some heart rate, even if it's not the most accurate, off of my wrist, I just choose to only wear that, not really fool with a big elastic thing around my chest. And so that kind of made me think, well, what about all the rest of the data that's on Strava? Where does it come from? Is it obviously the data points are going to come from a wearable, right? So there's little accelerometers and oscillorometers. I think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong. I think there's a difference between those two. One measures acceleration, the other measures up and down movement. And of course, barometer. What else? On my watch, heart rate, pulse ox, and then there's some other things that are calculated, but I want to say like VO2 max is calculated outside of the device, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so it is kind of interesting to think about, like, how many things are computed on the actual wearable, the watch itself, and then how many require like pushing out to like a Garmin Connect or a Strava Premium or Strava Basic subscription, and then that platform does like additional calculations. So I honestly don't even know where that line is and what data points come from either one or any of those. So it's interesting to think about. But I will say, for me, I'm again pretty simple. I don't require a lot of data. I don't get bothered with a lot of data. Like, I like to see my heart rate from time to time, but I don't measure it over time. So there's no, longitudinal analysis of heart rate that occurs with me. There probably should be. It would probably be a good thing to keep track of, and I could probably improve or enhance my performance and my overall feeling by training to heart rate. I hear really good things about it. At any rate, I don't get focused on that. Mostly what I concern myself with is distance. I don't even look at time really that much. I know that I shoot for around 30 miles a week right now, and it used to be 40 or 50, but for whatever reason, laziness, it has become 30. That's become the number this year. Hopefully, or not hopefully, next year I will bring that up. It's just a little too late in the game this year to get, I think my goal for the year was like a 1,500 miles or something, like 1,600 miles. It's not going to happen. I'm at 1,200 right now. And so that's like 400 miles that I have to make up before the end of December. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe. But I guess we'll see. But like for next year, I would like to do more. I'm still planning on running around the island of Hawaii, which I drove. That's what I wanted to talk about. I got stalled up talking about this these boring calculations, and that led me to what I actually wanted to talk about. So anyway, let me wrap up on this. I do want to run around the island, but having driven around the island or partially around it this past weekend, I drove around half of the island. We'll put it like that. I realized how major of an undertaking that will actually be, and so I'm gonna have to do a fair amount of planning and a good amount of training up to that to be ready to do it. So next year, gonna go all in on training for that and hopefully get that accomplished. That would be a cool thing to do as a 40-year-old. At any rate, the reason that I was running around, or not running, that I was driving around the island last weekend was because me and my son went snorkeling in Honau. It's I'm gonna mess this up, so let me go ahead and look it up. So it's Honau is probably the correct way to say it, right? But I call it Honau. Some people call it two-step, right? And it is a great place to go snorkeling, or even if you wanted to dive there, I'm pretty sure it would be awesome to dive in too. But it is right next to Pu'uhonua Ohonau National Historic Park. I know I screwed that up. Let me try it again. So Pu'uhonua Ohonau. I think that's how that is supposed to be said. The National Historic Park, which that's where the city of refuge is. And so everybody that's Hawaiian that just heard me say that and mess it up, I'm sorry. Big shakas, and I'll try harder to pronounce things better. No disrespect, but anyways, we went there for snorkeling, and it was awesome. My son and I saw so many different colored fish, and there was a huge eel. And let me look up. I do believe it was a moray eel. It was big and ugly. And when I say big, I mean big. Like that eel, like the top of it, the front of it, like from its face to about mid body, was probably as big around as my leg. And it sort of like came out of a cave and looked up at us, and thankfully didn't give chase, like went back in its cave. But holy moly, the thing was so crazy looking. But yeah, there was all kinds of other super colorful fish, coral, anemones, is that the right word? I don't think anemones so much. I forgot what they're called, but the spiky things. There was little spiky things, big spiky things, huge spiky things. uh, just all over, like different shapes and sizes of spiky things. But yeah, so point being, it was great fun. It was a departure from running, pretty exclusively on the weekends. I usually do some runs in the national park or somewhere special, like on the weekends. But it was cool to spend time with my son last Sunday and go do that. But it was far. It was so far to drive. It was like 2 hours to get from where we live to the beach, and then from there back home was like another hour and 40 minutes. We went through we went down to South Point and then around and up on the way there, and then we kind of just continued up to Kona and then back over Saddle Road back to Hilo on the way back. So we just made a big huge sort of circle, more like a triangle, I guess would be the shape, but you get my drift. But so that was cool. And if you are on the island of Hawaii and you have not been to that place yet, then you need to definitely try to visit at some point if you're able. The snorkeling is awesome. Having been snorkeling there, like I don't think I would ever swim there, honestly, just because of the amount of creatures that are directly under the surface, like right next to shore. I will say, like, being in the water with my son, especially, I made him stay closer to the shore, and I kind of held the further out at sea position, because you really can't see past a certain point. And for me, I'm always hyper aware or hypersensitive to like a shark coming out of that or that darkness. I have a irrational fear of sharks. So thankfully we didn't see any of those, and there was no Jaws like scenario going on, at least while we were there, with anybody that was there. So that was good. And then of course everybody was friendly. I was able to leave my flip-flops and my hat and stuff on the beach and not have to worry about it getting stolen. So that was cool. But nobody wants my flip-flops anyway, or my hat, because I wear them all the time. So probably smelly. I don't know. Smell like old man. But yeah, so that's it. I think I'm going to end this right now because it's almost 9 o'clock and I got to get up early and work tomorrow. Thankfully, I'm happy about that. I just wanted to hop on and do another one of these. I'm trying to do them more regularly, because I think that would probably be better to do. How are you going to have a podcast but you don't ever podcast, right? So I hope that the rest of your week goes really good, and I hope that you have a great weekend, and maybe I'll do another one of these over the weekend. I did get to run in Volcano National Park last weekend, and it was awesome. My friend, I think I told about this on the last podcast, but he actually started at the top near the visitor center and rode his bike down all the way down Chain of Craters Road. He was going so fast that I was in a truck. By the time I drove down, parked, and got about 2 miles down the road running, right? I drove all the way down to the bottom of Chain of Craters Road. I said Crater Rim Trail, but it was Chain of Craters Road, all the way down to the Petroglyphs trailhead. I parked, and then I had run like maybe 2 miles. I got a text from him saying that he was done. Like, he was going that fast. That's That's over 20 miles, I believe. Yeah, he was flying. So he had fun. I had fun doing my run. I just ran out the emergency road, the evac route, the gravel way. And I got to the part. It's kind of hard to describe, but there's a particular part of that road where you can look out towards the ocean, and there's just this rugged cliff that just kind of goes out into the water, like kind of diagonally from your field of view from the road. And every time I see it, it just reminds me of dinosaurs. Because I don't know why, but it there's just no life. It's just all lava rock and it's gnarled, and it just ends up in this huge cliff, like this humongous cliff, and the waves in that area are always so big, and they're just like bashing this shoreline. So it just makes me think of something like rugged and like prehistoric every time I see it. But I got a little past that area and then turned around. But it was completely sunny, a little bit of clouds. There was one cloud in the sky that was producing rain, like one cloud in the sky that was producing rain. You could see like all the rain coming from it. And then as I got up closer, you could actually see a rainbow just under this one cloud. And so I started to grab a picture of it, but I've sort of moved past that point in my life of having to take pictures of everything. I just took a mental picture and kind of saved that for myself. And while I was ignoring my urge to take a picture, I kind of thought about how I would never be able to adequately describe it, but that's okay. But now I'm just blathering on, so let me stop this and enjoy the rest of your week. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you maybe this weekend. All right. Thanks for listening.